all right, for questions. So let's proceed forward through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. You know, we got a major topic to talk about tonight, all right? Major.
God.
We got a major topic to discuss tonight. You know, and it may ruffle some feathers in Israel, but the truth got to be told. The truth. It's about the truth. So we're just gonna put the truth out, and it's just gonna be what it is, you know. So I hope everybody is prepared. Make sure y'all share it, saints. Share it, saints. Make sure y'all share it, get it out there, and we're gonna go into something tonight. Many of y'all, hold on one second. Many of y'all, of course, if you're in the truth, you know about the Sabbath day. We know it's a commandment of God, right? Give me that in Exodus 20, actually, to start. Let's go there. The Sabbath is a commandment of the Most High God, and it is a central, important part of Hebrew Israelite culture, customs, and it's a holy day, a separate day. You have high holy days, but there's also just holy days that are high. These happen every week, right? So read that.
God, this is Exodus chapter 20, verse 8.
Uh-huh.
It says, remember the Sabbath day.
Remember the Sabbath, read.
God, to keep it holy.
And keep it holy, keep it separate. Remember the Sabbath. This is a commandment. It's one of the 10. To remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, read.
God, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
Read on.
But the seventh day,
read on,
is the Sabbath.
Is the Sabbath, read.
Of Yahweh thy God.
There you go. So this is a commandment to remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Some of y'all in Israel may be familiar with the fact that there is a bit of debate as to how the Sabbath is determined, okay? The majority of Israel follows a fixed Friday to Saturday Sabbath. What do I mean by fixed? Fixed means it never changes. Every week on Friday at sundown, it's the Sabbath until Saturday sundown. That's what the majority of Israel currently follows. We also have people who have alternatives. The alternative to that would be a lunar Sabbath. So what a lunar Sabbath would be is, as of right now, the lunar cycle has the Sabbath on Friday to Saturday in conjunction with the fixed Sabbath. But last month, it was on a different date. And next month, meaning next lunar cycle, it will be on a different day. That would probably be the second most popular school of thought in regards to sabbatical keeping amongst Israel. You also even have alternatives to that. You have people who keep a Wednesday Sabbath. You have people who keep a Monday Sabbath. I think even probably a portion of people that keep a Sunday Sabbath in Israel. But the two most popular schools of thoughts, one being most predominant, would be a fixed Friday to Saturday, or what they would call the seventh-day Sabbath. And then you have a lunar Sabbath. Okay, we here at the SICARRI are of the school of thought and the observers and keepers of a lunar Sabbath. Okay, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Many people don't know a lot about it, may be confused or mistaken or even curious about the lunar Sabbath. So today what we want to do in the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai on the Day of Atonement is go into why we keep the lunar Sabbath. And we don't knock brothers who may keep a Friday night to Saturday night fixed Sabbath. But what we want to display and demonstrate here tonight is that a Friday to Saturday Sabbath, contrary to the belief of many, is not in fact the Lord's day of rest. And keeping a Friday, Saturday, Sabbath isn't necessarily wrong, but it is supplementary. What you're doing is supplementing because of the society we're living in, picking the most convenient time to keep a Sabbath. And that's why we don't knock brothers for it, but it is in fact not the same Sabbath from Genesis like many brothers will contend. That's our point of contention.
Yeah, if I can say this too. They say this is the same 7-day cycle since
the creation.
The world began. I mean, if that's not putting your blind faith up the white man's ass, with all due respect, I don't know what is.
That's right. It is. And like the brother said, with all due respect, and that's why I said, if you keep it, we don't knock you, but you cannot honestly say and or believe that Friday to Saturday has been an uninterrupted 7-day cycle since the beginning of time. And you may be sitting there right now watching this saying, well, yes, I can. That's okay. Allow us to lay out the evidence, both in scripture and history, to substantiate that it is impossible for Friday to Saturday, as we know it today, to be the 7-day cycle since the beginning of time. It is a literal impossibility, right? So if you're keeping a Friday to Saturday Sabbath, understand you're doing something that's supplementary to the society that we live in and not, in fact, the day that the Lord ordained. All right? For the record, on the record, and let the record show. So with that, we're going to get right into it. The question is, and we're just going to start with a bombshell to open this up. Is Friday to Saturday, as we know it today, the 7-day cycle since the beginning of time? The answer simply is no. All right. And I have a document here. It's called Written in Space in the Latin West, right? That's what the book is called. And there's a section here. It's on page 89, right? And it references the fact that in 60 AD, 60 AD is the earliest documented time where days of the week were kept. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way to Saturday, right? So of course we know we didn't put names on our days, right? But brothers will contend that Friday to Saturday, as we know it now, is the 6th or is the 7th day rather, right? So the earliest documentation in history that we have been able to unearth, that historians have unearthed about names and days where that's documented, where these different celestial luminaries are attributed to names of days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday again. There's a dilemma in the understanding of Friday and Saturday, right? And it's the earliest date for which the day of the week is known. A graffito in Pompeii identifies the day as Sunday, right? What day is that? February the 6th. And I have it right here in Latin. It reads the year of Nero Augustus here in the Latin, and it talks about it's the 6th of February, February the 6th. But guess what? It's calling it a Sunday, right? But watch this. In modern reckoning, this date would have been a Wednesday. You see that? So we have to understand that the way that we keep the 7-day cycle now in this current setup that we're in current society is not the same it was even 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago, what we know as Wednesday was Sunday. The earliest records of this substantiated. You cannot find earlier records of days of the week being attributed to these names outside of this graffito found in Pompeii in 60 AD. There is no earlier documentation that could be presented for it. And it says February the 6th is a Sunday, but this time says it's a Wednesday.
Let me.
That's game, set, and match for the ideology that Friday to Saturday, as we know it now, has had an uninterrupted cycle since the beginning of time.
Yeah, I don't think they heard you. So let me just do this real quick, because that was really heavy. Can y'all see my screen or no?
No, we can't see it.
Okay, here we go. So let me pull this up so these guys can see what's going on here. What the brother said was February 6th, 60 AD was the first year that a month, day, and year was identified together. And here, as you can see, it's Sunday. The first day, I'll read this passage. The year 60 is the first identifiable year for which a date is cited complete with the day of the week, i.e. 6 February 60, identified as a Sunday. So according to history, this day was a Sunday. So what the brother is saying, when you look on the calendar that you have today, this is what it says. Some sources say Wednesday, some sources say Friday. How problematic is this? Here's how problematic it is. You don't know what day you're in right now. That's how problematic it is. All right. So I just wanted to bring that out. I'll stop the share. So is the false Gregorian calendar right, or is history right?
Yeah.
You would have to pick and choose.
Is it a Friday? Is it a Wednesday? Is it a Sunday? What day is it? No one knows. So much has happened to this calendar over time that you trusting in it is foolish. Period. And that's why we don't keep a Friday to Saturday. And that's why we resent when brothers act as if Friday to Saturday has in fact been the 7-day cycle uninterrupted since the beginning of time. It's just not even relatively true. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 14 and 30. We're going to read some scriptures on that.
This is 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33. For God is not the author of confusion.
The Most High is not the author of confusion. The white man is. The white man is keeping this day is Sunday, it's Wednesday, it's Friday. That's confusion. You don't even know what day it is because they have conflicting reports on what day it is, right? But the history says it's Sunday. So I'm going to go with what they had scribed into walls versus the conclusion that the white man came up in regards to it 2,000 years ago, right? Sunday, not Wednesday or Friday like the white man says now. But the Most High is not the author of this confusion. From the top.
This is 1 Corinthians 14 and 33. For God is not the author of confusion.
The Most High is not the author of confusion. Following this calendar is utter confusion. Read.
But of peace.
Of what?
Of peace. As in all churches of the saints.
Okay, now let's go to Daniel 7 and 25.
After that, I'm gonna drop this bombshell real quick.
All right. I got two scriptures. Let me hit them. Read.
This is Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. It says, and he shall speak great words.
He shall speak great words. We know what beast is rising up to speak great words. Let's start with the Roman Empire, right? Read on.
Against the Most High.
Against God, read.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Persecute the Israelites, read.
And think to change times.
And do what?
And think to change times.
To change times. That's why Sunday is Wednesday is Friday. To think to change times, read.
And laws.
And what?
And laws.
That's what he's done over the course of time. Changed time, created calendars with flaws and problems and changed them up at his will and changed laws, mandated things, made things okay and acceptable. Right? Read on. That's 25.
It says, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and dividing of time.
There you go. Now Jeremiah 17 and 5. So now we understand that the Most High is not the author of confusion. And it's prophesied that this man, when he came into power, would change times and laws. This is a part of the prophecy. Why are we acting as if these things were not written in the Bible divinely by the Most High to warn us from following their calendar? Read.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 5.
Read.
Thus saith Yahweh. Cursed be the man.
Wait. Thus saith Yahweh. The Most High is pronouncing a curse on who?
The man that trusteth in man.
The man that what?
Trusteth in man.
You're cursed if you trust in man. If you believe that Friday to Saturday, as we know it today, has been uninterrupted since the beginning of time as the 7-day cycle, you have trusted in man and you're cursed. Cursed is man that trusts in man. Man that God already said would come to change times and would author confusion that would be contrary to the truth of the Most High God. So what nerve do we have to put a trust in that man? Read it again.
This is Jeremiah 17 and 5. Thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man.
Cursed be the man, read.
That trusteth in man.
You believing again that Friday to Saturday has been the 7th day since the beginning of time is trusting in man, thus rendering you cursed. Again, the man that God said would change times and cause confusion, of which the Most High is not the author of. Again, we just showed you how history has rendered the 6th of February, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. If it's been uninterrupted Sunday to Saturday since the beginning of time, they only simply put names on the numbers of days that pre-existed it, then why can't they get straight what February the 6th, 60 AD is?
That's right.
Somebody tried to say Wikipedia is not a, we're going to act like Wikipedia is a reliable source.
Brother, that's the point. I read the actual document here. This is, hold on. Let me turn my brightness down. I'm reading the ebook. He read the Wikipedia article, put it in layman's, like he said, because it went over heads.
Yeah, let it sit there so it'll focus for a second.
You see that? This
if not, we'll put it in the link afterwards.
So hold on, let me go here. Here we go. See let me sit here. Yeah.
Think it's too close.
Think it's too close. Well, again, I'll cite the source, which I already did. It's hilarious that somebody would say that, and that's why I knew it. That's why I purposely didn't go to Wikipedia. I went directly to the source. All right. Again, it's the book called "Written Space in the Latin West." All right. It's written by Hergen G. Gibbon, von Peter Keegan, Gareth Sears, and Ray Lawrence. All right. It's published by Bloomsbury Books. And y'all can read the same thing. I cited the page. I followed the scholastic model to a T.
Bring it out.
Talking about Wikipedia, I'm showing you page 89. Again, it's too bright, right? But y'all can get on your phone and look it up yourself and read it. Read the inscription. It's written in the wall. And guess what? It don't even got to be written in the wall, because he Googled it and just showed how the calendars now both say either Wednesday or Friday. How is that possible if this 7-day cycle has been a thing of perfection since the beginning of time? You can't even prove it's been perfection since after the time of Christ. You can't. So what does that show? This is flawed, and you trust in man.
Right.
And you remain cursed in that aspect if you don't repent from it, or at least acknowledge, look, you can say, I don't know what the day is. I'm going to keep Friday and Saturday because that's supplemental. I'll accept it. Whatever. It is what it is. Judge no man the Sabbath day or holiday. Okay, that's fine. Some brothers follow different calendars or whatever. But when you say Friday to Saturday has been uninterrupted since the beginning of time, you're deceiving your own self. You're trusting in man, and a curse comes upon you for that. Stop doing it. It's just not true. I know brothers who go, listen, I just keep Friday and Saturday because this is the society we live in. I know it's not the actual time. Hey, that is what that is. But you certainly can't deceive yourself into thinking. I mean, if you are, it's senseless, especially after this information comes out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Especially after, right? Go ahead. I hit your point. That was in on 17:5. So like,
there's a little bit more.
Go ahead, get all that on.
It says Jeremiah 17:5. Thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm.
You see that? You made flesh your arm in that instance. Read.
And whose heart departeth from Yahweh.
You see that? Because you don't want to go by what Yahweh gave us. You would rather go by what the white man told you. And therein lies a problem. Do you know why? Here's the thing. Everybody knows that the Roman Catholic Church instituted Sunday worship because they worship the sun. The day of the sun is when they worship. Don't say we worship the moon, because we worship the moon. I said it would be Monday, the day of the moon. All right, so that's out. But do you understand why the Jewish man has a Saturday Sabbath? The same way he wears all black, because he worships Saturn. That's why the day he hallows is Saturn's day. This doesn't take a lot to look up. It doesn't, right? But go ahead, Deacon.
Khan, beautiful point. So let me share this again and bring this real quick. Can y'all see my screen?
Take a look.
You can see my screen?
Fine.
Okay. So this is from Quorum's website. And they bring out some information. And this is just a little article I found in there that's corroborated by archaeology, which we're going to show. It says the 7-day Roman stick calendar found at baths of Titus, constructed AD 79 to 81, clearly exhibits Saturday as the first day of the week and Friday as the seventh. The Romans later changed Saturday from the first day to the seventh day out of reverence of the Roman worship of Mithras, in which the seventh and highest decree of the Father was represented as Saturn. Now, I don't really care about the latter, but according to archaeology, this is true. When you look at the documents in archaeology, during 79 and 81, and I believe before and after, they actually, the first day of the week was Saturday. And so this is how much they've changed certain days of the week in the times of the evolution of this calendar. All right, here you see the first day of the week is Saturn. The god of Saturn was the god of Capricorn. This is the image. All right, and then you see Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So even with this change, when did they change it back? When did they change it back? Was another thing that brothers who deal with Friday and Saturday got to deal with. So when you go into the Gregorian calendar, which is what brothers follow today, which I always tell people our forefathers didn't have no Gregorian calendar. So where am I? So the Gregorian calendar is a reform to the Julian calendar. Anybody can look this up. So when you go to the Julian calendar, where are we at here? Okay, here we go. The calendar was developed as refinement of the Julian calendar. So the calendar you're in today, the calendar that you base your Sabbath off, was an evolution of the Julian calendar. This is facts.
Yeah, and let me say this too, for these simple people who don't understand how Wikipedia works, right? People can go on Wikipedia and make something up. And what will happen is, where you see that little 4 at where the brother just read, it will say citation needed, because there's not a work cited that substantiates whatever that sentence says. But in an instance where there's a number, you click the number and it gives a source. So this is not just made up information. There are sources cited that substantiate that the calendar was developed as a refinement of the Julian calendar. And you'd be pressed to find any historical information that would contradict that anyway, if you want to get simple about it. Just for the record, but go ahead.
Yeah, anytime you see a number by the citation, it'll give you the source for those who don't know how it works. Now let's click the Julian calendar. So we know the calendar that the Friday and Saturday night Sabbathers rely on is the Gregorian, which evolved from the Julian. And guess what? The Julian calendar proposed by Julius Caesar in 46 BC, that was a reform of the Roman calendar. So the Roman calendar, let's click that. And then let's go down to weeks. Let's go to weeks. Here we go. Let's start at reckoning is 9 days. Okay. So when you read this, is the Nundine were marked. The Nundine, right, were the market days, which formed a kind of weekend in Rome. Rome had 8-day weeks, right? And some other parts of Roman territory, by Roman inclusive counting, they were reckoned as 9th days, although they actually occurred every 8th day, because the Republican and Julian years were not evenly divisible into 8-day periods. Roman calendars included a column giving every day of the year a Nundine letter from A to H, making its place in the cycle of market days. So when you look at the Roman calendar, it had 8-day weeks, 8-day weeks. So when you get into the history of the Roman calendar, it was given to the Romans by the Japhites in the sixth century. So they was practicing a Roman calendar for 600 years with 8-day weeks. Then out of nowhere, out of thin air, they said, okay, let's reform this and make it a Julian calendar and change it to 7-day weeks, in which you have the Gregorian calendar evolved from that. So how can you say that according to the calendar that you are using, that the 7-day cycle has not been interrupted. I mean, it's clear, and this is easy for anybody to do, like the brother said. If you're going to keep it, then you're going to be saying you're keeping it for a convenience, but at the end of the day, in all sincerity, it's not the Lord's Sabbath.
No, it's just not. I mean, there's just no other way around it. It's just not, y'all. Let's get 2 Peter 3:8, because also people who purport this typically hold to the ideology that the creation in Genesis took place over the course of 7 24-hour days, a day as we know it right now. That also is a very flawed understanding. We're going to prove it through the Spirit and power of Yahweh. Shall I read that?
So 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. It says, but beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing.
Of what one thing? Read.
That one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years.
You see that? It took place over the course of 1,000-year periods. All right? Not 24 hours. Go ahead.
And 1,000 years as one day.
Right. So now let's go to Genesis 1:21. And we're going to read to 28.
This is Genesis chapter 1, verse 21. It says, and God created great whales.
God created what?
Great whales.
Great whales. Hold on. Go ahead.
And every living creature that moveth.
Every living creature that moveth.
Which the waters brought forth abundantly.
Where you at, 21? Every living creature that moveth, water brought forth abundantly. Read. Stop at the end of 21.
After their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, and God saw that it was good.
So every living creature, right? So when we look at that word, every living creature, it's Strong's H5315, and it's soul, self, life, creature, person, appetite, mind, living being, desire. So people were a part of what was created on the 5th day, human being. We know Adam and him being chosen and lifted out of the dust is separate from the creation of human beings as a species on the 5th day. This is clear, just predicated upon this in the Hebrew, which is the Hebrew word napash, that's used there in Genesis 1:21. It's a fact. Okay, so let's keep that in mind, because remember, if human beings were created here on the 5th day, that means Adam had parents. How's Adam popping up a day later? A whole human being? A human being needs a 10-month gestation, 9 to 10-month gestation. How is that happening in 24, 48 hours?
Right.
It can't happen in that process of time, which proves that the time of creation happened over a much longer period of time. Okay, and this is what they taught back in 1 West. They knew that through the Spirit and power of Yahweh. I don't know how some branches of that have, seemed to forget that very important point, right? That was the end of 21. Okay, Salakia. Let's get 2nd Ezra 8:8.
Look at 2nd Ezra chapter 8. You said verse 8? 2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 8. For when the body is fashioned now in the mother's womb, and thou givest it members, thy creature
is that what?
Creature.
Thy creature. Read Genesis 1:21 again.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 21.
Read.
And God created great whales, and every
what?
Living creature.
Every living creature. But now we're reading in Ezra about a human being being called a creature. It says here in Genesis 1, every living creature was made on the 5th day. Every. Go ahead. Go back to Ezra.
It says, and thou givest it members, thy creature is preserved in fire and water, and 9 months.
And what?
And 9 months.
24 hours.
And 9 months.
48 hours.
And 9 months.
Go ahead.
Doth thy workmanship endure thy creature.
So the time of creation took place over a much longer period than 7 24-hour days. That's ludicrous. We're disproving all that through Spirit and power. Go back.
Corroborates the age of the earth.
That's right. Well, we're going there. Go to verse 24. Going right there.
Verse 24?
Right. What's 24 say? So like
it says, you want the earth to turn?
Oh no. What's 2nd Ezra 8:24 say?
Oh, hear the prayer of thy servant.
Oh, read that again, yeah. Just emphasize creature. Go ahead, Salah.
2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 24. Oh, hear the prayer of thy servant.
Read on.
And give ear to the petition of thy creature.
Ear to the petition of thy creature. So 2 different times here in Ezra is human beings identified as creatures. Genesis tells us on the 5th day, every living creature was made. That doesn't work for you to say that it was 7 24-hour days. Now go back to Genesis 1. Read 22. We still going to 28, but I want you to stop at the end of 26. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 22. And God blessed them.
God blessed them. Read.
Saying, be fruitful and multiply.
God said, be fruitful and multiply. So now these living creatures are having sex and reproducing. Read.
And fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth.
Read.
That's in 22.
Keep going. All the way. Stop at the end of 26.
Verse 23. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day.
Read.
And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing.
You see that? Go ahead.
And beasts of the earth after his kind.
That's right.
And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind.
The beasts of the earth after his kind. Read.
And cattle after their kind. And everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind.
Read on.
And God saw that it was good.
Go ahead.
Stop at 26 or at the end?
At the end of 26.
Verse 26. And God said, let us make man in our image.
And let us make man in our image. Meaning man now is being put in the image of God. Man was not in the image of God prior to this, and we're going to prove it. Read that.
After our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea.
Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, right? Hold that. Now go to Psalms 49 and 20. We're going to just show you what man, the state of man prior to being made in the image of the Most High, which is talked about right here in the Bible through the Spirit.
This is the book of Psalm chapter 49 and verse 20. It says, man that is in honor and understandeth not.
Not in the image of God. Read.
Is like the beast that perish.
Is like a beast. So man was coexisting with beast at that time when all living creatures were made the same as them, functioning in the same manner. Then man was made to have understanding, and man was put in a position of dominion over the beast. The food chain was established. But prior to that, it was all a time of coexistence, or not coexistence, but they all were functioning as beasts, right? This is before Adam come on the scene, who's chosen, of the chosen lineage, and the chosen lineage comes through him. But here we have men existing with beasts as beasts, and then man being made greater than beasts. Through what? Through the knowledge that was given to him, right? Through understanding that was given to man. That man lacked prior to this verse. Plain and simple, right? So go ahead. That's it on that. Okay, let's go back to Genesis now. Let's finish all the way to 28. And this is all just to prove that creation was longer than 7 24-hour days, which is, again, a ludicrous ideology. Go ahead.
It says, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Go ahead.
Verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. That's
right. This is not the creation of of human beings. This is man coming in the image of God. That's something separate from just being created, right? Genesis 49 and 20 proves that. Go ahead.
Verse 28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply.
Read on.
And replenish the earth. And subdue it.
Keep having babies and now subdue the earth. Where before you were living at war with these beasts, now you are to come be above these beasts and own this land and stick your flag in it, so to speak. Right? Read on.
And have dominion over the fish of the sea.
And have dominion over the fish. Now man is made the principal of the beings of the earth. Right? What happened prior to this was not that, though man existed. Go ahead.
And over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
There you go. Right? That's it on that. Okay. So now, also we have to look at something as well, because if it is a 24-hour period, right? If it's a 24-hour period, man's created the 5th day. Even if you say it's the 6th day, right? It doesn't really matter, because you're saying that the 7th day has been the cycle since the beginning of time. So you're saying that man literally rested after only existing for 1 to 2 days. But I thought we were supposed to rest on the 7th day. That also doesn't make any sense or add up. There's so many problematic holes in this ideology and understanding. That's why we're telling brothers, stop making these claims. If you want to keep it Friday to Saturday, just say you're doing it because of societal conveniences, not because it is in fact the Lord's Sabbath. Because all of these points are working together cohesively through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua to debunk that ideology entirely, right? So now let's go to 2 Ezra 14 and 11.
This is book of 2 Ezra chapter 14 verse 11.
Read.
For the world,
read,
is divided
into what?
Into 12 parts.
Into what?
12 parts.
12 parts. So Ezra is letting you know that the world is taking place over 12,000 years before the refreshing and renewing of times, which is the kingdom of Yahweh. Over the course of 12,000 years. Read.
And the 10 parts of it are gone already. And half a 10th part.
That's right. So it was almost up to 10,000 years. That's what he's talking about, which is the time of Yahweh, which is 2,000 years ago. You see that? You see how that timeline works out perfectly? Showing you that no, it wasn't a 7-day cycle. It was 7,000 years that creation took place over, because that would bring you up to the time of Ezra. And now, perfect timeline through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Not 6 days, 7 days, literal 24 hours. Number one, a day and what it takes to constitute a day didn't even exist at the beginning of the clicking of the clock. You mean to tell me that a day in the eyes of God is 24 hours? An hour is a portion of time that the sun is sitting, reflects on the earth and shines upon the earth. That's where they get that. And the concept is in fact Egyptian, because hour goes back to Horus. You mean to tell me that the Most High thinks like that? No. An hour, when you read about it, most times Hebraically, that hour that you read about is not 60 minutes as we understand it now anyway.
Can I
so there's so many holes in that, but go ahead.
Let me for the naysayers out there, let me share this real quick. Now, don't mind the imagery that they got. But the so-called early church fathers, which a lot of them were disciples of John and disciples of Peter, they believed also in that the days of creation were 1,000-year periods, and also Peter. So let me read this real quick. Progressive creationists, such as Hugh Ross in the book of the Genesis debate, 3 views on the days of creation claim Augustine as a precedent for interpreting the Bible's reference to 6 days as a symbol for eons of creative activity, known as the framework hypothesis. But it is unfair for progressive creationists to make their case using Augustine. Augustine believed the earth was created instantaneously, not progressively, and was, according to scripture, less than 6,000 years old. So when you look at who they would deem the early church fathers, right? They also believed that it was 1,000-year periods for each day. And so this is something that we would hold to as in antiquity as hold on, is it stop sharing? Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but that's the point I was trying to make. You can look at a lot of these writings and they substantiate the fact that each day was a 1,000-year period.
Yeah, further witness on that. Let's go to Genesis 2 and 3.
It's the book of Genesis chapter 2 and verse 3.
Read.
It says, and God blessed the 7th day.
God blessed the 7th day. Read.
And sanctified it.
And sanctified it. Go ahead.
Because that in it he had rested from all his work.
In it he had rested from all his work. Right? God. That's the end of 3?
No, it says,
go ahead.
Which God created and made.
Now go to Mark 2 and 27. Now it said he blessed the 7th day, sanctified it, because he had rested from all his work. Now let's go to Mark 2 and 27. Read.
This is Mark 2 and 27. And he said unto them,
read.
The Sabbath was made for man.
For who?
For man.
For who?
For man.
So even if that was, guess what? That was the Sabbath that God rested on. The Sabbath that we are keeping today was made for man. Separate from that. Showing you that that's a 1,000-year period, not a day period that reflects to us. Because people are because what certain naysayers will say is, well, the moon was created the 4th day. How then is the Sabbath dictated by the moon if the Sabbath is the 7th day and the moon was created the 4th day? Number one, we've already disqualified that days is literally days. 24-hour periods, that is. 2, the Sabbath is made for man. So even if that was the case, man didn't rest to the 7th day. So if man was created 5th or 6th day, that means 7 days after that would man be resting. If that in fact was a 24-hour period. You see again how problematic these arguments are. Right? Finish that.
The Sabbath was created for man and not man for the Sabbath.
There you go. Sabbath created for man. Now Matthew 6 and 10. Because here's what has to be understood. Here's how you bring that Genesis and Mark full circle. Right? The Sabbath, the Lord rested versus the Sabbath of man. Read.
This is Matthew 6 and 10. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done.
Thy will be done. Read.
In earth.
In earth. Read.
As it is in heaven.
So what we go through on earth is a reflection on what's in heaven. As earth as it is in heaven. There's a pattern of things that is a resemblance to what is celestial here terrestrially, but it's not the same. The same way that the terrestrial Levitical priesthood is not the same as the celestial Melchizedekite priesthood. These are different things, but they're patterns of one another, right? And we already substantiated a day to the Lord is 1,000 years. So to think that a day that the Lord rested on is the same as the 24 hours that you rest on is ridiculous. That's out. It's just a pattern. Now let's go to Genesis. Back to Genesis 1. We're going to start at 14.
This is Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And God said,
read.
Let there be lights.
Let there be what?
Lights.
Lights, read.
In the firmament of the heaven.
Go ahead.
To divide the day.
To do what?
To divide the day.
Divide day, read.
From the night.
From night. Read.
And let them be for signs.
What to be for what?
Signs.
Signs.
And for seasons. And for days. And for years. Verse 15.
So signs, seasons, days, years, all of that is dictated by the celestial luminary bodies that the Most High God created through the angels in Yahushua during that time that we're reading about in Genesis 1. That's how. We weren't given a Gregorian calendar, a Julian calendar, a Roman calendar, a Hooters calendar. We were given lights in the sky to tell us when is when. That's what we were given by God. Okay? When you trust in all of these other things, and Friday to Saturday as the white man gave it to you, you are trusting in man. Trust in the Most High and what he gave you to dictate time. Because he is perfect and he is not the author of confusion. Right? Keep going to 19.
It says, verse 15, and let them be for lights.
Let them be for lights, read.
In the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth.
Read.
And it was so.
Go ahead.
And God made 2 great lights.
2 great lights, go ahead.
The greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night.
Sun and moon, read.
He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven.
Set them up there, go ahead.
To give light upon the earth. And to rule over the day and over the night. And to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good.
And what does he change every day? The moon. What does he change every hour? Or over the course of an hour as we conceive it Hebraically, which is really more so about 3 hours as we conceive it. And this time, the sun, that's the sundial, right? And then you tell days of the month by the moon. So where in the hell is this uninterrupted, separate 7-day cycle that we don't see biblically that people assert and interpolate into the Bible? Where is that at in Genesis 1? When the Most High is creating the good things to give us that we would need to rule our lives. Where is it? Oh, I know. It doesn't exist. It's not there. Like we always ask, if you were knocked unconscious and you woke up on a desert island, how would you be able to tell what was what? You would have to go by the moon because it is something that is different and unique on a day-to-day basis versus the sun that's the same every day, up and down. Right? That was it on that? 19? Okay.
19. It says, in the evening and the morning were the 4th day.
That was the 4th day. That's when it happened. On a 1,000-year period, brother. Right? So now let's go to Exodus 16 and 23. Let's go to the first time ever Israel is commanded to keep a Sabbath. We done went through Egypt. We done went through the Passover. And we're chapters later into the wilderness. Now we're told to keep a Sabbath. We're going to go into that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and see what that lines up with. Go ahead.
Well, this is the very first time the word Sabbath is easy.
Yeah, what exactly?
This is Exodus.
Yeah, because in Genesis, they don't talk about the Sabbath. They say he rested. The first time Sabbath is ever mentioned in the Bible is right here in Exodus. Right? Let's go into it.
This is Exodus chapter 16, verse 23.
Read to 26. Go ahead.
And he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh hath said. Tomorrow
read,
is the rest of the holy Sabbath.
Tomorrow, the day after they're talking about, is the rest of the holy Sabbath. Tomorrow, read.
Unto Yahweh, bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe.
Which is the day of preparation, read.
And that which remaineth over, lay up for you to be kept until the morning.
Go ahead.
And they laid it up until the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. And Moses said, eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto Yahweh. Today ye shall not find it in the field. Verse 26. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none.
So this is the first time we are commanded to keep a Sabbath. This is before Exodus 20 when the 10 Commandments come out. The first time this concept of a Sabbath is introduced to us is here. Again, the first time the term is used in the Bible is here. Now let's go to the top. Even the top of that chapter. Read verse 1 and then skip to 4 and 5. Read.
This is Exodus 16 and 1. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin.
When?
Which is between Elim and Sinai on the 15th day.
Okay, so it starts, the whole context of this starts on the 15th day of the month. Right? Read.
On the 15th day of the second month.
Of the second month. Read.
After their departing out of the land of Egypt.
That's right. So this is after all that, right? That's in the 1?
Yes.
Skip to 4 and 5.
Verse 4. Then said Yahweh unto Moses,
read.
Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no.
So this is all happening on when? The 15th day. Read.
It says, verse 5. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day.
On the 6th day. From the 15th day that we're reading about, that he's giving this command. Read.
That on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in.
15 plus 6 is what? 21. Remember that. Go ahead.
And it shall be twice as much as they gather daily.
Why? Because that's the day of preparation. Read.
That's verse 5.
Okay, skip to 22. Read 22 and 23.
That's verse 22. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread.
So that's the 21st day of the month. Read.
2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath.
Tomorrow, which will be the 22nd. Now, if you follow the lunar calendar, the Sabbaths are the 1st, the 15th, and it's likely the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd. You see that? It's the first time Israel ever keeps a Sabbath. The first time the term Sabbath ever happens in the Bible, it's in conjunction with the lunar cycle and the observance of a lunar Sabbath.
Right, as today.
Day of the second month. All praise Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Let Yahweh be true and every man alive.
That's right.
Follow your Roman calendars. We're going precept upon precept with what the book says and what the book supports. Meanwhile, guys are literally purporting to you that Friday to Saturday has been an uninterrupted cycle since the beginning of time. That's a lie. Or a gross misunderstanding. The first time we keep a Sabbath is in accordance with the lunar cycle, period. That's at the when the moon is beginning to wax out, the half moon. Or slightly rather wane out at a half moon. And that's the first time that we ever kept it. You had something deep?
No, that's I mean, as we're doing it today, I mean, it's the same, keeping the customs of our forefathers. And that's why you won't see any Hebrew calendars in antiquity like that, because we didn't need a Hebrew calendar. We had and have the moon. All right.
Exactly. Our calendars were based entirely off observation. That was the point of having brothers set up to be trumpet blowers who would blow the trumpet and let us know, okay, it's waxing out. This is the day of or waning out. This is the day of preparation. The dark moon is coming in. Here's the Sabbath. We're gonna blow that. You see what I'm saying? All these things happen. We're there because we based our calendar entirely off of observation, right? So now let's go to Ezekiel 46 and 1, and let's show another problem with the fixed Friday to Saturday, or what they call 7th-day Sabbath. Go ahead.
This is Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1. Thus saith Yahweh, the gate of the inner court,
read,
that looketh toward the east, shall be shut the 6 working days.
Shall be shut the 6 working days, read.
But on the Sabbath,
go ahead.
It shall be open.
Okay, and what else?
And in the day of the new moon.
And in the day of the new moon. Hold on, Salakia. Who is this? Yeah, Mr. Torrenius. Shalom, brother. Yahweh Shemel Shabbat the water for that. It says that the court shall be open on the Sabbath and the new moon, but should be closed 6 working days. If the Sabbath and the new moon are not the same thing and do not work in conjunction with one another, then how can possibly the court be closed 6 working days? If a new moon comes in on Wednesday and the Sabbath is Friday, then it's only closed for 1 day. That's contradictory right there. That doesn't compute whatsoever. That's an impossibility, right? Let's go down to Amos 8 and 5. We just got to analyze these things through the spirit and power of Yahweh.
Yeah, I heard a brother say that, dealing with Ezekiel 46, that it was going to be open twice 1 week and then only once for the rest of the 3 weeks. Obviously, he's adding to the Bible and reading that into the scriptures, because you just can't get around that. That's a clear cut. It ain't going to be open 2 days out of the week at all. All right. It's only going to be open 1 day a week, or the Bible is lying.
That's right. That's damn right. Let's now watch this. Let's go to Amos 8 and 5.
Let's look at Amos chapter 8, verse 5, saying, when will the new moon be gone?
When will the new moon be gone? Read.
That we may sell corn.
That we may sell. So they're asking, when will the new moon leave? So we can sell corn, read.
And the Sabbath.
And the Sabbath, read.
That we may set forth wheat.
So now this is not just another example that the new moon and Sabbath are being equated next to each other. But there is a question that needs to be asked. Where in the law are we forbade from making financial transactions on the new moon? That's the most important question. You got what I need? Get Leviticus 23 and 32. Where is this happening? Salakia, actually, no, Salakia, you ain't got to grab it. There's nowhere in the law. I challenge you to show me where it says in the new moon we can't buy or sell. Show it to me.
Hey, you got somebody that's took your name on here, Jean Baptiste.
Well, shout out to that brother.
I don't know if it's a Sandy Jean Baptiste.
Oh, yeah, they just sent us an email. Okay. You see the email. But that's the point. We're never forbade from selling on the new moon. So why are they saying, when will the new moon be gone that we may sell? The only day that we're told not to sell on is the Sabbath. It's the only commandment of days. And also, coincidentally enough, all high holy days, of course, follow the lunar structure, typically occurring on 1st, 8th, 15th, and 22nd, right?
Right.
But, you know, there's some type of separate calendar. That is a gross assertion and interpolation into the scriptures and our practices. It makes sense. And please, again, show me, if anybody wants to disagree with what we're saying, that's fine. Produce to me in the law where we are not allowed to buy, sell, and trade on new moons verbatim. Show it to me. The only reason why we wouldn't be able to do it is it had to have been a Sabbath.
Right. Every
month. You had something?
Yeah, and they'll try to go to the scripture, Amos 8 and 5, because it says the Sabbath and the new moon. And they'll try to say, see, it's a distinction, Sabbath and new moon. Well, scriptures also say, Isaiah 45 says, Israel my servant and Jacob mine elect. Does that mean?
No, exactly. Israel and Jacob are separate now. But and the reason why it emphasizes new moon is because it's a higher Sabbath. You have Sabbath, it's like you have high holy days. That's why in the get Leviticus 23. Leviticus 23 is outlining the high holy days of Israel. High, right? Not just a regular holy day, which is your average Sabbath, which would occur on a half moon or a full moon, right? But this is dealing with a high holy day. So like your point is, no. It's like right here in the beginning. No. Where it talks about the beginning of the months. It might not be right here. I may be mistaken. but it talks about the type. It's a distinct holy day, but it's in conjunction. The same way that other days are Sabbaths, right? It talks about them being Sabbaths, right? But they're always in conjunction with the new moon, all right? Or not just the new moon, but the lunar cycle. This shall be this is the beginning of what the first month of the year is. But there's a scripture to blow the trumpets in the new moon, etc.
No, that's song.
No, but it talks about, it's in the law, but it's all right. It's not even that important. The point is that you can't produce to me in the Torah where it forbids financial transactions on the new moon. Therefore, by going into the prophets and showing where that's clearly something that was forbidden, proves that it's a Sabbath. It's the Sabbath. And every 7 days thereafter until the new cycle is renewed, period. Right? All praise Yahweh Shem Yahweh. That's what I had on that. Do you have that other one?
I just wanted to
your dad.
If that's all you had, I'll go into this real quick. The whole new moon is the full moon thing. If you believe that, you're right up the alley with the rest of the uneducated and ignorant brothers, man. So let's deal with this new moon is not the full moon real quick, and then we'll open it up for questions. So let's start right here. Can y'all see the screen just to make sure? Y'all see the screen? Okay, come on. All right, so Psalms 81:3. This is where they believe that the new moon is the full moon. It says, blow up the trumpet in the new moon in the time appointed on our solemn feast day, right? So you go into the Hebrew, for anybody who's not familiar with this, just because the way that the verse is grammatically structured, they believe that it's saying that the new moon is the full moon. The time appointed, all right, it says full moon. So when you look at it and it says, now I'm gonna go to another translation real quick, just to show what it's really saying, but we ain't gonna stop there. We're gonna go into the Hebrew as well. So it says, sound the ram's horn at the new moon and when the moon is full. Blow the ram's horn at new moon and, keyword and. So the Bible isn't saying that they're the same thing. When you look at the King James, it appears to seem like it's saying the same thing. So we're going to go to the scriptures and prove that in the Bible, the new moon is totally separate from the full moon. All right. So let's go to 1 Samuel 20 and verse 24. It says, and David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat. Okay, it says, and the king sat upon his seat as other times, even upon a seat by a wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something had befallen him. He is not clean, surely he is not clean. And it came to pass on the morrow, the next day after the new moon, which was the second day of the month. So according to the Bible, the new moon is the first day of the month, because it's telling you the day after the new moon was the second day of the month. So the new moon cannot be the full moon. And here's further proof. Go back to Psalms, right? It says, blow up the trumpet in the new moon and the time appointed, which is the full moon. What would on our solemn feast day? So there's a solemn feast day on the time appointed. What solemn feast day is on the full moon? Anybody know that? For this was a statute for Israel and a law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony when he went out through the land of Egypt. So the Bible's saying on the full moon is a feast day. And on the same day, we were brought out of the land of Egypt. So who knows what day we were brought out of the land of Egypt? Everybody should know this. This is simple. Exodus 16:1. And they took their journey from Elim And all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elam and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. On the 15th day, on the 15th day, on the 15th day, on the 15th day. Everybody should know this. So what is Psalm saying? Blow the trumpet on the first day of the month, which is the new moon, and blow the trumpet on the full moon, which is the day of our feast, the Passover, which was the same day that we went out of the land of Israel, which was the 15th day. So dealing with the lunar Sabbath, you definitely have to understand that the new moon is not the full moon. That's a bugged out doctrine. I know a lot of people don't subscribe to it, but I wanted to just bring that out for edification. Now it's on you, Chief, to open it up for Q&A.
Khan, yeah, so all praise, honor, and glory again to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai for, revealing the truth. And, I pray that Israel is edified, by the information that we're bringing out, and misconceptions and things of that nature are cleared up through the Spirit. What we now would like to do is open up the floor for Q&A.